The actual planting area that we're using is 0.6 acres. So it's just over half an acre. And from that, last year we did 6 tons of produce. So just to give you a sense of scale of how much you can get from that. And we grossed about 20,000 from that. So that's a pretty good amount for what's essentially the front yard of the house, you know, that's the house there. And so, yeah, so essentially from the front yard we did about 6 tons. So I'll go ahead and we'll kind of start walking around and I'll show you what we got here. We'll come through here first. This is we call it the big greenhouse. And so with this we're able to go year round. Through the winter this will be all the cold stuff, kale, spinach, that kind of thing. And in the summer is all the hot stuff, the stuff that can take the heat, the tomatoes, the peppers, the cucumbers, that sort of thing. And it's sort of multi-function that way. And this is pretty cheap. This is it takes about $1,400 to make one of these. We kind of made it ourselves, and it's pretty simple, and you can get, you know, literally tons of produce from this over the course of a couple years, so it's pretty good. So we'll walk through real quick and you can kind of see everything. And this is Swiss chard here. Underneath the row covers is basil. And then tomatoes, of course, you can see them coming in there, and you can crank them out pretty good this way. We've been selling at the farmers market. This is the 7th year. So yeah, we're looking at about 8 years of kind of building the stuff, making the fences and making the beds and that sort of thing. So it is kind of a time factor that it does take a while to make all this stuff, but once you get things in place, you know, once you get your infrastructure together, it goes pretty quick after that. It gets to be hard to keep up with. So, of course, the cats, we keep the cats around. They're good for keeping rabbits away and all that good stuff. So yes, very friendly. So Fridays are our big harvest day, and you know, we'll clear out a couple sections of lettuce, and right away it gets tilled in, and the next stuff goes in whatever's next. So it happens pretty quick. So this is the chickens, of course. So these guys, these are kind of our composting area. Here in New Mexico we're pretty dry, so if you make a big compost pile, without the water it's just going to sit there. You know, in a year you're going to come back, it's going to be the same straw that it was when you put it there. So what we do is just everything comes in here. They pick through, they get out what they want, what they don't want. You'll see Tanya has a bucket there. So all the weeds, everything goes in the buckets, and then it all gets dumped in here. And then you can kind of see in here, like this is all, you know, this is all from thinnings and leaves and weeds and all this. They'll go through, they'll eat what they want, they know what they like and don't like, and they'll leave the rest, and it just gets mixed in, and this becomes super rich soil right here in this area. Then all that soil comes out in the springtime and goes in the greenhouses. And it's a pretty quick, simple turnover. Same thing in the coops themselves. You can see in there, they're just earth floors. There's no concrete or anything, and they're able to poop on the wood chips, and then all that stuff comes out, and it's a nice mix of carbon and nitrogen. That's what you want for your soil. And so those go in the greenhouses, and all this soil here. Then out here you'll see these are all fruit trees. We got about 56 fruit trees that surround the place. And so these here, what I do is I allow them access out there about an hour a day in the evening, and they'll go out and they have access to all that grass. They kind of fill up on the grass, and they get a chance to kind of roam around. Also, they'll eat all the bugs that bother fruit trees, so they can kind of help keep that area free of bugs without having to use some pesticides and that sort of thing. This is summer squash, green beans, snap peas. Here's kind of a good example too, where in the spring this got green beans planted in it. They were done, they got pulled out, and right away the snap peas go in, and now the snap peas will be going into the cold weather. They can handle a frost, and so we'll get snap peas out of there. So it's a way that out of one space you can get 2 different plantings. It's pretty efficient, and you get more stuff. You know, I kind of grew up like a lot of people do, where their parents will go to the hardware store in the springtime and they'll buy a bunch of plants, and they plant them, and it's one day of planting. Once you kind of get into this and where you're trying to grow food for yourself for the whole year, it's more about just planting every week. You're just constantly planting new, and going and going. So pretty much every week we're planting something else that it's constantly doing it. So we'll get it'll be about 250 pounds out of each row, 250 pounds of beets, about 250 pounds of carrots, and those will go in that hole and we'll have them all winter long.
How do they stay good? Like, do you keep them in a refrigerator?
We bury them and they're in the soil, about 6 foot deep. And it's kind of wild. It works so amazing, it's unreal. It's no electricity and it keeps them from freezing, keeps them a constant humidity, and it's pretty cool. Yeah.